Lucifer, the morning star. A notorious figure that has been demonized and romanticized. Most of those who have heard the name Lucifer associate this figure with the Bible. The first mention of Lucifer in the Abrahamic canon is found in the King James Bible, where the name Lucifer is given in reference to the morning star. The morning star in question carries esoteric significance, but the simplest explanation of this star is that it represents the planet Venus. The cult of Lucifer has since grown to encompass a number of figurations. Most notably, Lucifer is a figure in Christian mythology associated with the war in heaven. He is the great orchestrator of the angelic rebellion against God the Father. Sometimes he is given the name Satan and is depicted as the ruler of hell. Lucifer's association with the Abrahamic tradition has defined his image in the minds of most people, but the cult of Lucifer is much older than the King James Bible, not to mention the cult of Christianity itself. Contrary to popular beliefs, Lucifer is not an Abrahamic god. He is an Aryan god, born in the Greco-Roman tradition. To be clear, Aryan in this context refers to traditions of the Eastern Flame, the polytheistic cults of the Indians, Tibetans, Germanics, Romans, and others. These cults share a similar cosmology and stream of magical tradition. The Aryan tradition runs counter to the Abrahamic tradition of the Western Wind, which is monotheistic. The Abrahamics are known for taking Aryan gods and demonizing them in an attempt to reduce their status and dissolve their cults. Lucifer is one such Aryan god. Lucifer is not an Abrahamic demon, but is in fact the son of Aurora, goddess of the dawn. As son of the dawn goddess, Lucifer expresses his consciousness as a burning light in the morning sky. This burning light is the planet Venus, an aspect of the deity. In this form, Lucifer acts as a god of illumination. He brings the light of awareness to man, much like Prometheus. In rooted consciousness, we associate Lucifer with the Sahasrara chakra. The Sahasrara is also known as the crown chakra, the home of the bridge to the clear light and illumination in Kundalini Yoga. Every chakra within Tantra has an associated poison. The poison of the Sahasrara is pride. Pride is an aspect of elevation. The Sahasrara rests on the crown of the skull. It is the highest point of human consciousness on the body. Human beings experience a general center of consciousness associated with a given chakra. This center affects perception of space and can shift from one chakra to the next. An individual's rooted state determines the center of consciousness that they generally operate from. An individual rooted in the Sahasrara would generally experience a sense of elevation that may manifest as heightened awareness and detachment from grounding in the material. In contrast, an individual rooted in the Muladhara, or root chakra, would generally experience a sense of heaviness and closeness to the earth. Lucifer's consciousness is set at the crown, and so he expresses intense awareness, which feeds into his aspect of illumination. The Sahasrara is also the chakra of unification and the home of spirit in the body. It is the only major chakra that is found outside of the physical body, and its appearance can be likened to a halo. Considering these attributes, it becomes clearer as to why the Abrahamics would depict Lucifer as an angel. His elevation in heaven gave him an intense cunning and awareness, but his illumined nature made him prideful and envious of the King of Heaven, leading to the eventual rebellion and attempted usurpation. In Tantra, the Sahasrara is associated with the figure of the priest, and the Anahata is associated with the king. There is often a conflict between the priest and the king. The priest may seek the power and influence of the king and will sometimes criticize his rule from a foundation of moral righteousness in order to sow the seeds of rebellion. The ultimate expression of this in European history is the rule of the Pope cast against the role of the king. In this example, the Pope uses his spiritual authority as a basis for mobilizing his flock and influencing the political climate within the nation. If he is powerful enough, he can undermine the rule of the king and become the center of political control. The Pope in this example is the Luciferian figure who desires power and believes that it is his right to take said power from the king. This is the overriding of the Anahata heart center by the Sahasrara crown center. A Luciferian culture is one that is therefore directed by the spirit rather than the will of the heart. There are many examples of Luciferian culture. Perhaps the most prevalent example in contemporary society is the gay pride movement. Gay pride is a Sahasrara movement that attempts to dissolve conditions of differentiation into a spectrum of sexuality and gender that is ultimately detached from hard biological definition. This rejection of the material is indicative of the spiritual nature of Luciferianism in the Sahasrara. The Sahasrara's adversarial chakra, the Muladhara, is the seat of materiality and divine femininity. Gay pride is a movement that takes on a decidedly masculine character. Gay culture was almost exclusively defined by the masculine principle and continues to be dominated by this principle. Hardline biological determinism, something that is associated with the feminine and the Muladhara, is basically rejected. Furthermore, it is interesting to consider that pride is the primary expression within the gay pride movement. As stated earlier, pride is the poison of the Sahasrara. It must be noted that a poison is not inherently negative in the context of Tantra. In fact, the practice of the highest Tantra yoga is the transformation of poison into nectar or medicine. In the absence of this process, the poison becomes self-destructive and may lead to a fall, as is the case in the example of the Abrahamic Lucifer. If pride is transformed into nectar, it can be a great source of confidence and power. The associations between Lucifer, the Sahasrara, and the gay pride movement run even deeper than what has already been described. The Sahasrara is associated with certain natural phenomena, most notably the rainbow. The rainbow is a symbol of the bridge between the material world and the spirit. It also represents unity of consciousness with all 7 chakras represented in a spectrum. Luciferian consciousness is a form of Sahasrara consciousness that we associate with immanence in the spirit. This immanence in the spirit essentially means that the unification aspect of the Sahasrara becomes a platform for illuminating differentiation. Under such a condition, the appearance of variety is represented in holistic mass, much like the variety that is found within the conglomeration of the LGBTQ culture. The political ambition and moral righteousness of the gay pride movement is a further expression of the power of the rainbow as a spiritual conduit for transformation. The occulted aspects of Lucifer and homosexuality run even deeper when examining the myth surrounding the Aryan Lucifer. Lucifer carries the name Phosphorus in the Greek tradition. Phosphorus is the morning star, and he has a brother, Hesperus. Hesperus is the evening star, the shadow and occulted form of Phosphorus. The Greeks depicted Phosphorus and Hesperus as separate deities sharing a singular body in the form of the planet Venus. Due to this interesting point, the phrase Hesperus is phosphorus has manifested. It is in this phrase that we may observe the surface of an occulted aspect of Lucifer that further illuminates the nature of spirit and the masculine. The occult secret is that Phosphorus and Hesperus are not separate beings, but are in fact separate personalities within a single body. Phosphorus is the outward-facing form, the morning star, while Hesperus is the inward-facing form, the evening star. The rising sun is associated with the Manipura chakra, the seat of expression, while the setting sun is associated with the Vishuddhi chakra, the seat of introspection. The Manipura shows and the Vishuddhi conceals. What is concealed in the form of Phosphorus and Hesperus? An examination of the myth of Hesperus reveals that this god had a gay lover in the form of Hymenaeus. Hymenaeus is the son of Dionysus and the deity of marriage procession. The relationship between Hesperus and Hymenaeus reveals an occulted homosexuality of Phosphorus. Phosphorus, known as Lucifer by the Romans, is the public-facing form, while Hesperus, known as Vesper by the Romans, is the inner-facing form of closeted homosexuality. This split personality demonstrates the condition of many homosexuals who must develop an outward persona to conform to the present rule of society while preserving their true desires in their split form. It is not uncommon for homosexuals to take on radically new identities when embracing their preferred sexuality. Furthermore, the association between Vesper and Hymenaeus reveals a preoccupation with the institution of marriage. This is an institution of the anahata, typically associated with divine union between the masculine and feminine. From a Luciferian perspective, this institution must be usurped by the masculine principle of divine union without contrasting sexuality. Considering the occulted homosexuality of Lucifer, it is no wonder why the Abrahamics have depicted him as an ultimate evil. Abrahamism has always expressed a disdain for homosexuality that is coupled with the presence of a large concentration of closeted homosexuals in positions of great influence within the culture. The open embrace of homosexuality does little to feed the expansionist urge of Abrahamism. Therefore, homosexuality is condemned on practical grounds rather than as a result of true preference. This fact is revealed in the shifting attitudes on homosexuality within the Catholic Church, for example. Be fruitful and multiply is the dictate of the Abrahamic, so long as overpopulation does not become an issue. In a condition of overpopulation, where further expansion of the Abrahamic is unnecessary, homosexuality becomes acceptable so long as it can be placed within the proper cultural container. Lucifer, however, represents complete sexual liberation and therefore remains a threat to the Abrahamic. The true Luciferian urge is release from the established order through embrace of the concealed self or the evening star. And it is one of the core goals of Sahasrara Yoga to access the evening star and release the true self that lies at the center of passion in the soul of man.